I think it's on.
Yes.
Welcome everyone. At a conference or a program, video program entitled Scottish Place Names in a Traveler in a Travel Guide for Polish Tourists. And my guests are my long-time friend Richard Raw, Mr. Richard Raw from Scotland, and my student Franciszek Szterleja, henceforward Frank, who's doing this wonderful project. Let's start with Frank telling us a few words about his project he's writing.
Okay, let me introduce this. The idea comes from the fact that there is a gap on the guide. Sort of, the publishers aren't really taking care of the pronunciation of names, so they don't put it in guides. And this idea comes also from the fact that there is a possibility of using Polish spelling simplified in order to simplify original Scottish or English pronunciation, and then to use it as a guide for Polish tourists, in order to give them something to help them tell them how to pronounce Scottish names, Scottish names of places, geographical regions, even streets, museums, etc. Anything, and then with help of Dr. Nawrocki, I sort of started this building the corpus of names, so they're like the most popular names that tourists visit in Scotland, and then working on the sort of simplified version that uses Polish phonology, not English phonology, but Polish phonology, and uses Polish spelling, so that is sort of user-friendly for Polish people who don't have knowledge about English, or have even marginal knowledge about English, and don't have any idea, have no idea about phonetic transcription. So for them, it might be useful, and it turns out it in all probability will. And from the interviews with on tourist groups, forums, and with Polish guys who sort of organize trips in Scotland, they say that this kind of guide would be very helpful. So that's I have been working on for the last couple of months with Mr. Nawrocki, and that's why we need, sir, we need your opinion on how well this simplified Polish transcription that uses Polish sounds to you, because you're a native speaker of English, and somebody from Scotland. So we want to compare those two, and we have two versions, but we will get to this in a minute. And we want to compare those versions, and we want to ask you about your opinion on how well this simplified Polish transcription matches the original transcription, or original, how well it matches the sounds that are, all native to the place, right? So to your ears will give us a lot of information, and we are keen and we'll be very grateful to hear your opinion.
Before we proceed to this core issue, I would like Frank to ask a few questions. Frank, do you have this list with questions?
Yes, yes, I
So
have.
at a certain point, the list will come, but there are some introductory questions to Mr. Raw on the Scottish background, I'd say.
Yes. So first question would be, where in Scotland are you from, and is your accent typical of that region?
So I'm originally from Kelso, which is in the Scottish Borders region. My accent is mostly Scottish Borders. It has very slight influence of my parents' accents. They were from the northeast of England, but this is only a very, very small. It's barely detectable. And also, I've lived in the Scottish Highlands, where I have spoken Gaelic and studied Gaelic, so I don't know if that has influenced my English accent. It may have done, it may not have done. But yeah, broadly speaking, I have a Scottish Borders accent, though it's not as strong as people who have lived here for generations.
Okay. My second question would be, are there big pronunciation differences between cities and rural areas in Scotland? So
Yes, just like England, in Scotland, wherever you go in Scotland, the accent changes and the dialect also changes. So you have local words, you have local ways of saying things. So even from where I live, it is roughly 100 kilometres to Edinburgh. A lot of the vocabulary we use, like the non-English vocabulary, so this would be the Scots vocabulary, which is mixed with standard English. Quite often the pronunciation is slightly different, so you can tell an Edinburgh person from a Borders person, and even within those two geographical areas, the dialect, the accent changes within each place. So yeah, Scottish accents do vary quite a lot.
okay. My next question will be, are there any Gaelic or Scots words still commonly used in your area?
In my area, in the Scottish Borders, it wasn't traditionally a Gaelic speaking area. We had Gaelic speaking traders in the medieval period, but for the Gaelic influence, you're looking more at the Scottish Highlands and Islands, and even as far down, as far south as Perthshire. There are a lot of, you can see it in the Scottish place names, the Gaelic influence. Gaelic is still a vibrant language. We still speak it in the Western Isles, the Isle of Skye, parts of the Highlands, and also in Edinburgh and Glasgow, there are a lot of speakers, so it is a living language. Here in the Scottish Borders, it was never native to here, but there are speakers.
Okay. And what do you think a pronunciation guide for Polish speaker is a good idea?
I think it's a very good idea. My step-grandfather was Polish, so I've studied a bit of Polish, and I find it very phonetic. It's complicated at first, there's a lot to learn, but once you know which sound each letter or combination of letters represents, it's pronounced more or less the same way each time, which is definitely not the case with English and isn't the case with Gaelic either, though Gaelic is more consistent than English.
Okay. So are there any sounds in Polish that you find difficult or interesting?
Yes, I find the distinction between what is spelt SI what is spelled SZ, I find making the distinction very difficult. And it's the same thing with is it je and j. I find it difficult to make a distinction between these sounds. And the ch, it's, so that's a struggle. The vowels I don't have a difficulty with, and yeah, so that is the only difficulty I have with Polish pronunciation. It's your CZ, SZ, RZ versus CI, ZI, SI.
Okay.
A lot of native Polish speakers find that quite difficult.
Okay, so what's the most common misunderstanding you've had due to accent or pronunciation?
In terms of Scottish place names?
In general, or we can also refer to Polish.
To Polish? I mean, I have tried to use Polish when I was in Poland, and I think my pronunciation was quite bad, so people very often didn't understand what I was trying to say, and then I would resort to English. But yes, it takes a lot of studying, I think.
And in terms of Scottish names and places, have you had any misunderstandings?
Well, the way it is in Britain, we have some very old place names, and there's a lot of people who are not local to the area where the place name is, who are native English speakers who struggle. For example, Kirkcudbright. It looks like it should be pronounced Kirkcudbright, but it's Kirkcudbright. And there's places in England which very similar. So all over Britain, there's places which are pronounced differently to how you would expect them to be pronounced. And I mean, this is the American struggle, Scottish English struggle. If they're not local and they don't know it's pronounced in a peculiar way, then we do have quite a few such place names in Britain.
Okay, so now we would like you to read this. We have a list, 20 items. And
I think I will share the screen because we need to see the spelling of the places. So I'm sharing my screen now. All right, it's out here, and I'm changing the documents to get the list up. Right. So we'll proceed in the following manner. I read the odd numbers, and Frank will read the even numbers, and we'll read two versions for each name, and we'll repeat those two versions. So it will be like AB manner. Two versions for each item with a repetition. And I would like Richard to say whether first or second sounds better. And we won't be reading too fast, just a little slow. And I'm starting with the first part. I will break up the first name into its components because Richard was already using the first component. I will just make sure. Is number one, Edinburgh or Edinburgh? Once again, Edinburgh or Edinburgh? Which sounds better?
Both are correct. And the reason both are correct, you'll have heard I pronounced the N like an M because it's a labial consonant, and I said Edinburgh. You will hear people say Edinburgh. they tend to be. I don't like to. I mean, I'm also educated, but you know what I mean. Edinburgh is more colloquial, whereas Edinburgh is more someone trying to pronounce it clearly and correctly.
So,
but both versions are.
No matter whether I pronounce the ending like an A or an E, it doesn't make much difference. Edinburgh or Edinburgh doesn't make much difference to your ears. Or
Edinburgh.
A is better at the end.
It's an sound.
Right.
Edinburgh.
Good. So I'll read the whole name now in both versions. Edinburgh Castle or Edinburgh Castle. Edinburgh Castle or Edinburgh Castle. Second one. Thank you.
Edinburgh Castle.
Over to number 2 and Frank.
Thistle Chapel, Thistle Chapel.
The second. Again.
The second.
Number 3. Adam Smith, Adam Smith.
Adam Smith.
The second one. Second one. Right. Now Frank.
Moray House, Mary House. Moray House, Mary House.
The first one, it's Moray. Moray House.
So the first one, okay.
Number 5 is a lengthier item. Scottish Poetry Library. Scottish Poetry Library. Scottish Poetry Library. Scottish Poetry Library.
The second one, Scottish Poetry Library.
Right.
Lothian Road, Lothian Road. Lothian Road. The second one.
Lothian Road.
Number 6. Colton Hill, Colton Hill. Colton Hill, Colton Hill.
Yeah, Calton Hill. It's a clearer A sound.
A sound. All right. So it's a version we didn't really have. But the second element is more like hill than hill.
It's hill.
Hill is okay. So we need a vowel like an A between after K. Good. After letter C. Now, Frank.
Dougal Stewart Monument. Dougal Stewart Monument. Dougal Stewart Monument. Dougal Stewart Monument.
So Dougal Stewart Monument.
So does the first or the second sound better?
So let me repeat. Dougal Stewart Monument. Dougal Stewart Monument.
There's not much difference. The first is marginally better, but there isn't much in it.
Right, so we'll mark the first. We're coming to number 9, first version. Glenfiddich, 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 Glenfiddich.
It's a combination of the two. It's Glenfiddich.
So it's in between.
Yes.
Right.
Glenfiddich.
Number 10, Frank.
Clachna Cadn, Quachne Caten. Clachna Cadn, Quachne Caten.
Okay, to my Gaelic here, Clachna Caten sounds better. To my English here, Clachna Cadden sounds better. This is because in Gaelic you do what you do in Polish.
So which, to the local people, which version would sound more familiar to the local people who live in the area of Clachnacathain? The Gaelic is
probably Clachnacathain.
so not necessarily the Gaelic version, but more the English one.
If you're speaking English, then Clachnacathain.
Right. So first one to the English speakers.
In Gaelic, I would say Clachnacathain.
And now my turn. Number 11. We are shifting up a little. Screen to fit what we are reading. Glenfinnan, Glenfinnan, Glenfinnan. Second one, right?
Yeah.
Loch Duich, Woch Tuich. Loch Duich, Woch Tuich.
Loch Duich.
Duich. Duich.
First one.
Loch Duich, yeah.
So a little bit of combination of, okay.
Number 13. Caithness, Caithness. Caithness, Caithness.
Yeah. Caithness.
So first or second?
And emphasis on, sorry, I can't pronounce my THs very well. Caithness.
So the second one sounds better. Caithness. Good. 14, Frank.
Oban, Oben.
The second version.
The second, Oben.
Yeah. In English, you'd say Oban. In Gaelic, you'd say Oban. So, yeah. It means little bay. Ob is bay, and Oban is little bay.
15. Iona, Iona. Iona, Iona.
Yeah. Iona.
16.
Ben Shanti, Ben Chianti. Ben Shanti, Ben Chianti.
Okay, I haven't heard of this place. If you're reading it in Gaelic, it would Ben Chianti. Ben means woman, and Bain is mountain. So Ben Chianti in Gaelic.
So if it's a local place, unknown local place, there are probably local people and most likely speaking Gaelic.
Yeah. So Ben Chianti.
Good. And number 17. Benahaulis, Benyahiwish. Benahaulis, Benyahiwish.
This might be a difficult one because it has a vowel that doesn't exist in English.
Neither does it in Polish. Sound. So I was trying to match it with a Polish Y, which we use in mysz, which means a mouse in Polish. Sound, but that's not exactly the one we have in Gaelic.
Long sound. It's an sound. So Benyahiwish.
Benyahiwish might be a little like similar, but definitely not Benahaulis.
No.
Oh, right. And now over to Frank.
Kyle. Curlis is a narrow strip of water, so Benyahiwish is a mountain by the little stretch of water, or Kyle. That's what that would be.
Okay, number 18. Skur, Derk. Skórdzierek.
You got it
Skór.
on the second attempt.
Yeah.
Skur Jarak. Skur Jarak.
So it doesn't sound more like the second one?
The second one.
Skórdzierek.
Okay.
Number 19, my favorite. Portri or poštri. Portri or poštri.
In English, portrait. In Gaelic, it also be spelled differently, because it means the port of the king. It'd be portri in Gaelic, but re would be spelled R-I-G-H.
GH. So it's the Western Hebrides, Outer Hebrides area. Am I right?
Aye.
So one would expect Gaelic to be spoken there.
Yes.
So
Silos guy, which is bilingual.
So
Okay.
would the local people be happy with poštri? And the question mark on the face of the traveler,
Yeah.
poštri, and where we're not even showing using hands, not with no English, but the poštri, they'd probably communicate successfully. And the last one for Frank.
Yes. Buchanan Street.
Yeah,
Buchanan
that's
Street.
Buchanan Street.
So the second one.
The second one. Buchanan.
So we could just all right. We might need this document on now because there will be some related questions following, and the document could be posted online. We were basically the winners were those versions from the second column. I will make them yellow, with exceptions.
I've already done that. So, and I have some secondary questions about, for example, skórdzierek or skórdziarek. Which sounds better?
Dialect, so you can say either. You can say Jarak or you can say Jarak.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
it means red. It's a shade of red. So Skur, the difference between Skur and Bain in Gaelic, both mean mountain, is the shape. So Skur is a pyramid-shaped mountain, whereas Bain is more of a round-topped mountain. So the difference between the two is in the shape. But Skur and Bain both mean mountain.
Okay, and I have one question about Loch Duich.
Yeah.
Loch Duich, yes, with or sh at the end. So Loch Duich or Loch Duich.
Because in Polish we've got a sound, a sh sound, which you were talking about, Richard, before, SI spelling, or S with an apostrophe, and Gaelic has this soft CH in chamitulich or things of that sort. So Loch Duich, does it sound more like Gaelic than Loch Duich with a hard CH? I don't know.
Well, because it's next to the I, that softens it. So it becomes instead of ch.
Right.
So Loch Duich.
The English would produce k sound all over the place wherever ch stands. But for Poles, we handle this ch freely because we have like 3 versions of ch. The hard version in final ch when we say piach, which is sand, or śmiech, which is laughter, We have the soft ch at the beginning of words when you say China in Polish, or, which is China, when you say hyacinth, which is hyacinth. And we have the throaty h, which is chh between vowels when you say koha, which is he, she loves, koha, her sound. So we are pretty familiar with all those types of h's, ch's that Gaelic has, so we can substitute freely, so to speak. So,
Yes.
so next, probably the next question from Frank is related also to this list we've just completed
Yes.
with Richard's judgments on it.
Exactly. So the question for you, sir, is that does the pronunciation system that we just used, based on Polish orthography, does it make sense to you? Does it sound good?
It does, yes.
Okay. Yes. So we're extremely happy with that fact that to your ear it sounds. And let me sort of ask you more. In terms of percentage, for example, so like 100% is like perfect Scottish, Gaelic, etc. Our transcription in terms of percentage, how good is it? So I don't know, 80%, like 90, 60%, how would you rate it?
So
How close is
it? Yeah. So, for example, sorry, I'm using my phone, so it's quite small. So, Iona. It is very phonetic. It's very close.
So if I'm sorry to interrupt. If I reread it, number 15, according to Polish system that is represented here, Iona versus Iona. Iona versus Iona.
Yeah.
Does it make a big difference? Does it make a big difference?
It makes a bit of a difference. The second version, Iona, sounds spot on.
Spot on. Good. Right.
Okay. Are there any parts that seem inaccurate or misleading?
Could you quickly go through the list of the ones that you've chosen?
The overwhelmingly yellow, the second version, yes. I can go.
I'll be able to.
All right, I will read the second column once again, just once each. Edinburgh Castle, Thistle Chapel, I'm sorry, Thistle Chapel. Yeah. Adam Smith, Murray House, that's what was incorrect. Moray House, it should go like Moray House.
Yeah, Moray House.
Scottish Poetry Library. Scottish Poetry Library. Number 6, low. Yes, Richard?
The word library, when pronounced correctly, is library. You'll have heard that I said library. So I took one of the R's off. That's just.
Yeah, that's just a variation. So if we because often instead of a vowel that Poles find difficult, because on the left we have a, so we just skip the whole syllable, and then it becomes Scottish Poetry Library. Scottish Poetry Library is simple and shorter. There we're in 6 once again. Lothian Road. Lothian Road, Right, then you've got, you corrected us on the A sound in 7, so I'm reading the corrected version. Cowton Hill. Cowton Hill.
Calton Hill, yeah.
Then something that didn't work on the right. So let's just take the first two items of the name. Dougal or Dougal? Dougal, left-hand side, or Dougal? Which is better?
Reading it in English, I'd say Dougal. With a thicker L sound. Dougal.
So more like an A. Dougal. And the middle part, following the Polish transliteration, Stewart or Stewart.
The second version sounds better.
All right, so I will single out the middle as better sounding on the right hand side. Then number 9, Glenfiddich. Glenfiddich.
Yeah,
Glenfiddich. So we've got this soft Polish C with an apostrophe, S with an apostrophe.
Glenfiddich.
And then Kwachnekateň. Kwachnekateň. Which is the Gaelic version. Right.
Yeah.
Glenfinnan, I didn't mark it. I should have. You chose the right-hand version. Glenfinnan. Glenfinnan. And then there was a choice on the left for, I'm going to read the right-hand side, Wochtuich. Wochtuich.
Lochduich, yeah.
Or Lochduich. Lochduich. So your preference was for the left-hand side here.
Okay.
Then it goes Caithness, number 13, Oban, Iona, Benchianti, Benyahiwesh, Skurgerek, Oshri.
Beinachulish.
So
Beinachulish.
So if I put Li, Benyahilish, sounds better.
Yeah.
Benyahilish.
Yeah. Because it's a sh sound, it's Beinachulish.
So if I put this, Benyahilish. Benyahilish. So Polish SZ would win over S with an apostrophe.
Yeah.
Then, good. So that's a modification to consider. Skurgerek.
Yeah.
Poshri. Poshri.
Okay, that would be the Gaelic pronunciation.
Right, I made both yellow. Portree versus Poshri. Gaelic being the right-hand side. And Buchanan Street.
Yeah.
Buchanan Street, all right. So it's the list has been revised now, and it's a product to sell.
At the beginning, Frank asked me about local dialects that we speak in the Scottish borders. And I told you about Gaelic, and I forgot to tell you about Scots. The version we speak today, in truth, is a mixture of standard English, Scottish, and Scots, and it's all mixed up. It's so we don't speak like Burns did, 200 plus years ago, but we do have a lot of dialect words, and some people speak with a stronger local accent than other people do.
Right.
But it is one of the regions where Scots is fairly strong.
Right. I remember one or two examples from Frank's list, and because the list, you haven't told us, Frank, how long the list actually is.
Oh, it consists of around 300 positions, if I remember correctly.
Around about 300 items. That's
I
what
think
yeah.
300, and I can check.
I remember one or two examples which are definitely lowland names, like what I'm writing now, which we transliterated in a simple manner as Hoik. Does it ring the bell, Richard? Hoik.
Yeah.
Hoik. So that's one of the that's Scots, isn't it?
And it comes from Old English or Old Anglic. I think it means, well, Wick means like a farm settlement.
Yeah.
And I think the ha part was originally hedge. So it'd be like a hedge farm settlement.
All right.
And, over time, pronunciation changes and it's become Oik.
Right. So Poles would feel safe with such a pronunciation when they arrived in the whereabouts of Hoik. They wouldn't get lost, would they?
Yeah, they would get that spot on Hoik.
Good.
There's a couple other town names which people often, even people within Britain. Okay, we have a place called Stow, which is Stow. So it looks as if it should be pronounced Stow, but it isn't. It's pronounced Stow.
Stow. So Polish is like he stood. It's exactly like past tense of stand in Polish. On stał, he stood. So that's a really easy. It's a piece of cake when we come to such sequencing, because that's familiar to the Polish eyes.
Yeah.
Right. Frank, are there any questions on our list? I don't remember exactly. There are like 11 questions or something.
Yes.
Where are
So
we?
have two more. Are there specific examples of what we have? In a way, we have already asked this question. Are there specific examples you think we should add or change? Is there still anything here that we should change or add in terms of sounds in this list? Is there any problems?
It was where people wanted to go. Let's have a think where the most popular. So I'll try and think of one that might cause. Let's think. Sorry, it's just trying to think of an example off the top of my head. I mean, yeah, if you. Yeah, I can't think off the top of my head, but if there is a place, which does cause confusion, then.
That would be very interesting.
But yeah, it's like I said earlier, you do get anomalies. Places which are pronounced a bit differently from how you'd expect. Throughout Scotland and England, there are, because place names are so old, then they have changed a lot over it. And English spelling tends to not change very much, so whereas the pronunciation might, which gives you anomalies.
Well, just have a question on the top of my head. There are those two important cities in Scotland, Glasgow and Edinburgh. And what if, as a tourist from Poland, uses the Gaelic form of either Glasgow and Dunedin? what's the reaction in a Scottish listener?
Most people are familiar with the Gaelic names, Glasgow and Dunedin. There's even, believe it or not, there's a city in New Zealand called Dunedin that gets its place name from the Scottish Gaelic.
Yeah.
Dunedin, which is Edinburgh, and it's Dunedin in New Zealand.
So the reaction would be a favourable one if a tourist used a Gaelic version or Gaelic anglicised version.
They'd be impressed if you knew some Gaelic, yes.
But otherwise, they are very popularly known in the English form, Edinburgh and Glasgow.
Yeah.
Right. So, Frank, have we asked the final question yet, or is it still waiting in the list?
Now is the time for the final question. So, are there any funny, interesting stories about foreigners, maybe even Polish people, mispronouncing something in your region or in general in Scotland? Do you know any anecdotes?
Well, the most common one is the one I named before, which is Kirkcudbright, which looks like Kirkcudbright. But there are lots of them, like Stow, which I gave you, and yeah, I mean, you know, the country is absolutely full of, you know, in terms of Britain, it is absolutely full of place names which are sometimes pronounced differently to what you would expect. So yes.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully, due to the project,
Mm-hmm.
thanks to the project, there will be less misunderstandings on the road with travelers from Scotland, from Poland in Scotland, if they accept such a product and if they can handle the twisted Polish sequencings of letters, which is another story, because those the way Polish letters stand together may be confusing to the Polish eyes. But what else can be done? An audio version is a perfect solution to accompany a simplified script. Right.
I have more question now that came to my mind. Is it for you, sir? Is it a big deal to, and how is it a big deal to pronounce those names correctly? And do you think that the more correct version would be that people who use this, hopefully use this guy in the future, will be sort of treated, or will be, the pronunciation will be appreciated? So is it a big deal to pronounce those names correctly, and how the reaction might differ?
Okay, I do not believe that people are precious about their place names, so I don't think they would take offence. If you get the pronunciation of the place name to how it is familiar to most people, then that would certainly for example, sorry to use the same examples, but Hoik or Stow, if you pronounced it that way, locals would know exactly what you're talking about. We even get, a lot of British people might see Hoik written Hawick and think Hawick because that's how it looks. So yeah, a pronunciation guide would be definitely very helpful. But no, I don't think people are going to take offence or think that, it's wrong or anything like that. No.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So, Richard, thank you very much for the time you devoted to our consultation, for your precious advice and comments and judgments. We are a way ahead with our material, having consulted you. Thanks very much.
Oh, thank you. And nice to meet you in person.
It was very nice.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure to meet you, sir, and to get your opinion, your precious opinion on this project. It matters a lot, and we are very, very grateful to you.
Oh, you're welcome. Bardzo mi miło, Pani poznać.
Dziękujemy.
Dziękuję
Miło
bardzo.
było Pana poznać. Dziękujemy.
Thank you.
So see you some other time, hopefully.
Do zobaczenia.
Do zobaczenia.
See you next time, sir.
See you later.
See you. I'm finishing our meeting now officially. Thank you very much.